Welcome to the Sober Edge podcast, inspiration for alcohol-free living. I'm your host, Terry Patterson, functional nutritionist and This Naked Mind senior coach. The Sober Edge is a place to explore the infinite possibilities on the other side of drinking. In a culture soaked in booze, discover the wonder and joy of taking a different path. Meet real people living lives of purpose and passion, learn the truth behind the alcohol myths, and get ready to be motivated, inspired, and astounded by what is possible with the Sober Edge. Hello, everyone. I am so happy to be back with you to introduce another edition of the Sober Edge podcast. This is episode 122, which is kind of amazing. So today I'm sharing a guest with you, and this is a fellow This Naked Mind coach, Lisa Ryan. And Lisa and I talked a few months ago when I was interviewing a variety of my coach friends who stopped drinking in their 50s and beyond. And Lisa's story was just a little different and warranted a deeper listen. And so I wanted to feature her as a solo episode as she talks about her journey from panic attacks and a scary health diagnosis and a rock bottom to a place where she is not only thriving, but she really shares the beauty and benefit of living this juicy life. So I can't wait for you to get to know a little bit more about Lisa and her beautiful business called Keep Looking Upward. How fun is that? I also want to talk to you a little bit today about tools because I have recently started using a whole bunch of new tools in my own personal wellness journey. So you can read more about it in my blog post that is part of my weekly newsletter. If you're not a subscriber, please go to thesobernutritionist.com and sign up. It's a short weekly newsletter that I send each week, and I'd love to have you as part of my community. So this health diagnosis happened over the summer, and, it's required me to change my mindset a little bit, to do some hard things, and to try a bunch of things. In the beginning of our wellness journeys, and this includes our not drinking journey, we don't know what will work best for us. We're all individuals. And so we often try things that worked for other people, and they may work for us. They may work partly. And we may try a group or a coach or a program and wonder why it didn't work for us. And it sometimes can lead us to feeling like we are the problem. But I just want to invite you to get more tools. In my own wellness journey, I have tried a whole bunch of new things, and it's been quite an adventure. I've tried some homeopathic remedies. I've tried some traditional remedies, and I just keep trying new things. So if you are feeling a little burnt out with the tools that you have in your toolbox, I want to invite you to take a look at my Stop Drinking Now program. And perhaps that's the tool you have been waiting for. You can find out all the details in the show notes. And I look forward to hearing your feedback from this episode with Lisa Ryan. And I hope you are having a wonderful week. Well, I am happy to say hello and introduce you to one of my favorite people, Lisa Ryan. So Lisa, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, Terry. Yes, you're one of my favorite people too. So I'm so happy that we get to chat.
Yes, and you might recognize that Lisa is, yes, from way down under. In fact, I think it's tomorrow where you are. And so I know my listeners are going to pick up on that accent. Where are you in the world?
I am in Brisbane, Australia. So, Terry, we could actually almost wave to each other because you're on the West Coast, and I could almost wave to you.
Someday I want to actually get to Australia. It's, one of the things that has sparked in me this year is not putting off travel. And my husband isn't as keen to go to new places as I am. So I've given myself permission to start traveling with other people or solo and really enjoying some new adventures. So Australia might be on the horizon.
Yeah. Oh, well, if you come over this way, come and say hello.
I sure will. I'll do more than wave. I'll come and give you a hug.
That would be wonderful.
So, Lisa, invited several women to come and kind of share this connection that we've had around not drinking and, really learning how to untangle the drinking story in our 50s, 60s, and beyond. So, how old were you when you stopped drinking?
I was 52, but it was a long journey to get to that point. So probably in the last, I would even say up to 10 years before, I knew that alcohol wasn't really, there was something not right about, I was always sick, always having hangovers. The hangovers just got worse and worse. And then probably in the last 5 years before that, then I started to think, oh no, I think it might be the alcohol that's the issue here. Then I played the moderation game. Then I was in a lot of denial about my usage, I think, and had a rock bottom that most people would use that as a chance to start over. And it worked for about a few months, and then back on the hamster wheel. And so yeah, there was a lot of what people can call like day ones, or I tried to quit as much as I would, moderate. Real roller coaster wheel, and hamster wheel and a roller coaster ride. And yeah, it was eventually led up to that point at 52 that I just went, oh, got to try something different. Just got to do something different. Yeah. So it was a long road.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that, because I think for me, I was at least a decade, maybe even a little longer. Like my first thoughts about like, what if I just ditched alcohol, were probably like even around my 40th birthday. And I didn't stop drinking till I was 55. And so I think it's so powerful to share with the women that we meet and the women that we know who are struggling, that it's never too late to start
Oh,
untangling this relationship with alcohol.
and it does take a while. That untangling is a process. It truly is. And you do hear about spontaneous sobriety, and great for people. And I only know of a couple of people that just didn't have that journey, and just that's it. That's what I'm going to do. But I think for like 99% of folk that I know, it is this journey of, is it the alcohol? We're so much of what we see in advertising and marketing, surely not. Surely it's not the alcohol. And so that's why I think we get into that moderation hamster wheel. And yeah, and I think that's just a human. We're human beings. So we and it's natural also to want to experiment. So I think just to be kind to ourselves and understand it does take a while to figure out what's right for me. So absolutely, it's a journey.
Yes. And I know that I had a lot of fears around what life would look like if I stopped drinking. So, what were some of your fears about letting go of alcohol?
Oh gosh, I had a lot of anxiety and depression. It actually, when I look back, as my tolerance with alcohol grew and I was drinking more and more, my I thought I was drinking. One of the reasons I drank was to curtail that anxiety and the panic attacks. That also, like the anxiety used to be every now and again, and then that built up to daily instances, and then the panic attacks became daily. And then I would become more isolated. Couldn't even leave the house sometimes to go to work because the panic attack was so bad. And so, but weirdly, I still thought that alcohol was helping me to navigate all of that. And so, one of my biggest fears was that, because people would say to me, or you'd read a book, or you'd see something on the internet about a tip or a tactic to use to if you're having anxiety in the moment, and they would hardly ever work. And they don't work, but alcohol works. Alcohol calms my nerves, and I was really fearful of when I gave away, it's like giving up the alcohol, that I thought, oh, what will I do then? Because none of these things, other things that people tell you work, or the breathing and all different tactics. And So I was terrified that what will I do now? That was one of the major things that was really concerning. And then I realised after I at least got a few days in, and then I would get some anxiety, and well, I don't have alcohol. I don't want to use alcohol. I got to this point where, that was it. But what do I do now? And then I said, well, okay, it's been a while since I tried, and there was a few different things on my little toolbox. Oh, wait, I think that worked. I think I'm actually, maybe I'm not like back down here, but I know I'm not up here. Oh wait, I'm actually breathing a little bit better now. Oh wait, they work. So, that too was a process on the other side of that, but that was a big eye opener to me. And then it wasn't until I did some more reading that I realized that it was actually because I was already having these feelings of anxiety, and that caused more adrenaline and cortisol to course through my body. I didn't know until afterwards when I read some more that alcohol actually, that's what it releases when you drink it. And so I was just really putting more fuel to the fire that was already going on. So yeah, that was a huge eye opener for me, that I could actually navigate my anxiety, and I started to look at it entirely differently, and I realised how much power I really did have. And yeah, that was a huge thing for me to realise that I could have uh, be more balanced. I could be more calm with my anxiety. I could manage it. So yeah, huge thing for me.
Yeah, wow, that's so powerful because it just shows that we have learned, certain truths, and I'm putting that in quotes, around alcohol, and they can keep us really stuck. And one of the things that I think is so powerful in this journey is to start to question everything we thought we knew, and to allow ourselves to start to explore, what if that's not true? And what if I actually could manage my anxiety and let go of alcohol? I've been really leaning into, and I'm certainly not the first person, but this idea of the and that comes with things that happen. I can be anxious and not turn to alcohol. I can be
Yes.
anxious and discover new tools. And sometimes we see the world as so black and white. And I mean, let's face it, alcohol is the easy button. It does what it
Yeah.
promises to do. It takes us out of the moment. It disconnects
Yeah.
our emotions and our thoughts from, our prefrontal cortex. And that does feel a little bit like relief. But there is such a
Yes.
huge cost.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it did impact, because as I was saying, like the huge cost for me was how isolated I actually became. And and all the illness, I got sick or was sick all the time, and that was a huge cost on my professional life as well as my home life. So the cost was, and that's a really good word. I totally agree, that disconnection, that we think that this is just fixing something, but it actually, every time we do it, it's actually disconnecting us, and we're not seeing the full picture because we're not fully present now. We're removed from the whole situation, and it does dull things, yes, and it does remove some of that, but now we don't have that capacity to learn what's really going on. What is that activation all about? Why am I getting this energy? What's going on with me? And we lose that ability to understand that and learn from it and grow from it and move through it, instead of and allowing it allowing ourselves to hear that signal from our body. It's really important. We need to experience it, because it is a signal. It's a cue. And when I started to learn that that's what was going on with me, that how lucky was I? My anxiety, that I was walking around with like a beast of burden. Why am I the only one? No one else talks about it. Why am I the only one? And like this, it wasn't a beast; it was a gift. It allowed me to, like, I wasn't in the matrix. I like to call it like just moving around and not getting these signals. How lucky am I that I'm able to start listening, come out of the matrix and hear these signals. It's a gift to have that. Actually, people without that self-awareness, or they haven't learned it yet. I think everybody can do it. They just haven't figured out that they can do it. But it's having that ability. That's your almost like your radar. That there's something going on here. Okay, how lucky am I? So I really turned it around, took my power back, and realised I never needed alcohol at all. I never needed to be disconnected. I needed that clarity to hear it. Yeah, it's a fascinating journey.
Yeah, I recently heard. So I think you and I both trained with Annie Grace. And one of the things I remember hearing in our training was that cravings are a signal. But I also recently heard exactly what you're saying, Lisa. Emotions are a signal. And when we tamp down our emotions, we don't get the signal. And you and I were talking about root cause when it comes to health. And as a functional nutritionist, it's one of the things that I pay attention to. But if we think about root cause when it comes to our alcohol use, it is those emotions that are often driving some pain or discomfort that we're looking to numb or turn off. And this is why it's so powerful, exactly what you said, to use the tools of tapping in. I think, I've heard it said, name it to tame it. And so when we can recognize what's really going on, that's when we get to do that underlying work. So it's so exciting that you turned this into a gift and that you were able to come out on the other side of the anxiety and panic attacks. And we know life isn't perfect on the other side, because we still have emotions. We still have negative things that happen. We still have all of these midlife transitions that we're going through. But what have been some of the biggest gifts for you, Lisa, when you stopped drinking?
Oh gosh, I think knowing that I had the power all along is a gift to myself. I certainly, with all the things that people say, relationships are truer and more authentic and, stronger. And you find yourself with relationships with people that you never thought that you would, your old self would not normally gravitate towards some people. Now you've got this juicy life where you encompassing so many new things. I felt like it opened up a lot of doors for me. So it wasn't just, but yeah, I think a lot of it was this growth journey that was so powerful to me that through those early days of, finally getting to that point at 52, and I realized then that if I was going to continue on, that it wasn't about the action of not drinking. It was about how did I want to feel. And in those early days, it was about, well, what do I need to do to achieve that, which I'd never done before. I'd never really sat and thought about things. And so through that process, I was learning about boundaries and the idea of boundaries of, just simple stuff like, I'd love to meet with you to have a coffee, but I'm going to go to gym first, and I'll see you after gym. Yes, I can see you for coffee, but not at that time because, little stuff. And so the one of the biggest gifts was around little by little putting those little boundaries in place. And then I felt so much more empowered, and that changed me. That made me believe in myself in a way that I had never had before. So I think that, that I could trust my gut, that I would be okay, no matter what. It's not to say that I still don't get anxiety from time to time now, but it's so infrequent. And it was just part of that journey of that gift of I'm going to be okay no matter what. If I feel unsafe or mentally unsafe or self-doubt, it's still I come back to I'm going to be okay. And I learned that way back in those early days. And so that was one of the biggest gifts, apart from all the other things that probably, people do talk about, this sense of self uh, from that one decision that this was going to be the last day, this is going to be the beginning of this new journey. That one decision, thinking that it was just about the action of not drinking, that's all I could think about. I just don't want to drink anymore. So that's it. Um, it wasn't about the action. It was everything, all the doors that opened after that. And through that, self-belief. That took time. That wasn't like, day two.
Yeah.
But it was, it was every time I had those little experiences and every time I set a boundary, I'm okay. It was like a grounding moment for me every time I did that. And so, yeah, I think that the biggest gift was really finding me for, in my 50s. So, yeah, I don't know that I'd ever really connected with her for all my life. So that was the biggest gift, I think.
That's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, because it feels so hopeful for someone who maybe is feeling very disconnected from their authentic self and not trusting themselves. I talk a lot and I think a lot, Lisa, about exactly what you were saying, is that when we're drinking and over drinking, we stop trusting ourselves. We stop listening to ourselves. We stop hearing ourselves. We stop asking ourselves questions. What do I need? What do I want? And so one of the biggest gifts I personally experienced was the ability to come back to trusting myself again. That trust started as just a spark of my no now means no, and my yes means yes, and my integrity feels in alignment. And then that blossomed into checking in with myself and giving myself permission and growing in courage and boldness and stepping forward and listening to my gut and getting more in touch with my body and my emotions. And as you mentioned, it doesn't happen on day two, but it is beautiful work that we get to keep doing and we get to keep growing. And so I've been doing some studying about, aging gracefully and what's coming up as we enter midlife and beyond. And we see that many, many people are happier once they are in their 50s and 60s and beyond. We get happier and happier. And if you are not feeling that depth of joy, maybe it's alcohol getting in the way.
Yeah, because it does provide a certain dullness, a certain vanilla to your experiences. So it does cut you off. And if you're sober curious or you're just dipping your toe in these thoughts, at the moment, if anyone who might be listening, it's like just to consider, to try it out. You don't know what's different until you have some days away from it, and having that clarity and noticing things sometimes for the first time, noticing you're the dog next door and something silly that goes on, and noticing conversations that are happening around you, and you finally realize that you're actually I'm actually present. I'm actually here, instead of okay, I thought that was something that was useful, and that's okay. That's what the marketing tells us. We get bombarded with all those messages, but it's just considering what would life look like if I had a little less alcohol. What doors might open for me? What would it look like? And you don't know till you give it a try. And it is beautiful. It is just amazing, and it's just really interesting to just get curious around it. And what would it look like? It is really, I know I've used the word before, fascinating. It really you just start to open your eyes to what else is going around? What else am I missing that I've just been so quick to use one tool, and that's okay. But it's you're a human being, but it is dulling, and it is making things very same. And when you just have a break and look around, it's just amazing what's going on.
Yeah, I love the idea of one tool. I often say that, when the only tool we have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And, a hammer is not a very effective tool if you're trying to make a cup of coffee. But if all you have, you might pound on that coffee bean and then pour some hot water over it and say, it's good enough because I used my tool. And if we think about it in that context, using alcohol for all the things, for anxiety, for relationships, for loneliness, to have better connections, to, de-stress, to have fun, it's kind of silly. Like, we have a lot of other tools that are available to us that are going to help us get a lot more joy and punch out of life.
Yeah, I love to say life gets so much juicier. It really does get juicy. You just really are experiencing everything instead of just one duller aspect of it. So, yeah, it's just amazing. And I had no idea. All I wanted to do was, I just don't want this in my life anymore. And I had no idea any of this. I didn't think about joy. I didn't think about juicy. And it wasn't until you actually slow down and come off autopilot and start listening to what your body's really telling you that it's it's a revelation. It's really interesting. I had no idea. I just not a clue.
Yeah. And I think I didn't either. And I think that's what can get us stuck. And so it's so powerful to be here sharing, the secret, which is not a secret, but just to, remind, other women in their 50s and 60s, it's not too late. There is so much life left to live, and it's worth it to explore. How do we put down that one tool and everything else can open up?
Yeah, it's never too late. Absolutely never too late. I did think that way, and I really was. I was so focused on just the action, and I don't know. I'd been very sick at one point. I had almost died. That was one of the rock bottoms. I had more than one, but that was one of the rock bottoms I had in that previous 5 years. I came through that, but then started to go down the rabbit hole again with my health. So I didn't really know. I thought it probably was too late. I just had gotten to that point that I'm just going to stop now. I've tried all the moderation. I've been sick. I'm getting sick again. Things are getting serious again. My doctor was worried about me. My husband was worried about me. I just went, I don't know what this is going to look like, but I'm just going to try some different things. And that's that's the point that I moved forward from. But I didn't know. I really did think that I didn't know how long I had left. And I actually did think, I did think it was too late. I just thought, well, I'm just going to stop now and let the chips fall where they may. But then as I started to get my health back, and then, really started to make some true changes in so many areas of my life that, maybe it's not too late. It opened up hope for me. It opened up possibility. And if you want, we were talking about gifts before, and I think that was probably the beginning. It was really opening up the door to, maybe it's not the end. Maybe there is chance, it's a possibility. So yeah, and now I can't imagine, I could, the me of today, if I could go back to her, back then, she wouldn't believe me. No way. It was all about the action. But it's never too late. Absolutely never.
I love that message. And that's a great place to end, with that message of hope. You sharing beautiful personal story of triumph over some dark times and some challenges, some real challenges. I follow a woman she's in her second round of a pretty serious cancer. And, I think sometimes that she can feel dark and hopeless, but she's always willing to do the next thing to fight for the life that might be hers. And that I think sometimes we forget with alcohol. We have to muster up a little bit of courage to say, oh, the possibility of better is worth fighting for.
Yeah, I don't know what tomorrow's going to look like. I don't know what this afternoon's going to look like. But what do I just need to do? Today's a tough day. What's one thing that I can do right now in this moment? I'll think about this afternoon or tomorrow later, but just right now, come back to the present moment and what is it that I just need to do right now? And sometimes it is just putting one foot in front of the other on those tougher days. But that's part of life, isn't it? It's part of the juice, those experiences. And I really admire anyone going through those tough days of just being able to take that, just what's that one step forward that I can do just for today.
Yeah. And you have a business called Keep Looking Upwards. Is that the name of your business, or is that just kind of your message?
Yeah. That's what I like to write about those things. It's Facebook and Instagram as well. You can follow me on there. I try to be in there every day and writing most days as well. And welcome anyone new to say hello. Tell me where you're from. If you join me there, I'd love to see you.
Thank you so much, Lisa, for joining us here. And again, sharing that message of hope and encouragement for all of us that might feel a little bit stuck at this moment. So thanks so much for being here. It was so fun to connect.
Thank you so much, Terry. It's been my privilege.
I want to thank you for tuning in to the Sober Edge podcast. This is a place for important conversations and a safe place to question everything you thought you knew about drinking. If you're looking for your sober edge, I want to invite you to connect with me at thesobernutritionist.com, where you can grab my free resource, Becoming More, a guide to loving your sober life. And I would be so grateful if you enjoyed this podcast, if you would leave a rating and review, as it will help more people find their sober edge.